Hi, my name is Scott Jones. I'm the editor and owner of Martian Migraine Press out of Victoria, Canada, and you're listening to Legends of Tabletop.
Thank you for joining us again, Scott. It's wonderful to see you. Can you enlighten us on what you've been up to in the past several months since we spoke?
Yeah, it has been a little while, eh? Well, I think the last time we spoke, I was in the final stages of producing the main anthology for Martian Migraine Press, which was the A Breath from the Sky. A Breath from the Sky, which is unusual stories of possession. And yeah, we were just starting to wrap that up and put that one to bed. It is now out in the world and doing pretty well for us. We're quite happy with it. We got a nice selection of authors for A Breath from the Sky, and yeah, we're very excited about that book. But of course, that's the past. We're moving on to projects for the remaining part of this year, and of course, looking into 2018 as well. So yeah.
So you have Chthonic coming up. Is that correct?
Well, we decided that A Breath from the Sky has I don't know. I almost want to call it an airy book. It's dealing with not to get too elemental about these things, but basically what you had with that is my brief for it was I wanted stories that took the theme of demonic possession, a la Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space, which is an unusual that was the root story. That was the seed story for the anthology. That's what we do with Martian Migraine. All our anthologies are, they usually have. We like to pay homage to, the weird fiction titans of the past, and Color Out of Space is clearly one of Lovecraft's, greatest stories. And it's also a very strange one in that what you have with it is, you basically have this entity rides in on a meteor and begins to alternately, consume, alter, mutate. But essentially what it does to the area that it lands in is it possesses it, right? There's all sorts of bizarre effects. But at the end of the day, as I was reading it, I'm like, so what's actually going on here? Folks are changing, animals are changing, plants are changing, the land itself is changing. It's becoming this other thing, which is, making changes to it so that it's more at home. Very sci-fi concepts for so early in the so early in the era.
Yes.
And but at the same time, the entity is not so. It's definitely an entity. It acts like radiation. It acts like a virus. But it has possessing effects on the people that encounter it. And so that's what I wanted. I wanted stories that were airy, that were that came from elsewhere, and which were which dealt with that sort of how else can this be done aside from the Judeo-Christian standard exorcist sort of narrative that we've that we've come to enjoy. Because the standard demonic possession tends to shore up some pretty some pretty core values of Western culture.
Yes.
And which I wanted to see things from other cultures. I wanted to see how it was approached. I wanted to see how it could be a positive experience, still horrific, of course, because we're dealing with weird fiction, but I wanted to see, how does consciousness adapt to intrusion, or intrusion, or amalgamation, how do we synthesize with something that's not us, so yeah, it was an exploration of the other. But as I said, it was airy, and so almost on a whim, I was, what was the trigger? I'm trying to think. This is how it often is with how I plan anthologies. It's like, well, what's the next one going to be? Is the next one going to be absolute crap? Maybe I'll have a terrible idea at one point. Not yet, but soon. I'm sure of it. I don't think Chtonic's the one though, because we went from, the realms of outer space and consciousness and intellect and all the rest to, just getting down in the dirt. We wanted stories of basically weird tales from under the surface. And I didn't want, oh, this happens in a basement. This weird tale is, in a parking garage 3 levels down. I wanted truly, subterranean cavern worlds, hollow earth theory and fables. And folks just knocked it out of the park. We have the subterranean civilizations, but we also have individuals who are encountering relics of spaces below, and how that alters their life above, and how that draws them below. Ramsey Campbell submitted a story out of the blue. I didn't ask him. He just said, I think this might fit. So it's just
wow.
So wonderful. And it's a reprint. If you've read his collection Demons by Daylight, you've read this story. It's called At the End of a Summer's Day. But I was pretty much, that knocked my socks off for about 2 days, 2 days straight. So we've got a Ramsey Campbell story in there. We have a Christopher Slatsky story in there that I believe is also a reprint. But again, not many folks have read Christopher, and I think more should. Oh gosh, who else do we have? I'm blanking now. Hold on while I pull it up. But yeah, it's been like that, and it's been a wonderful experience putting together chthonic Weird Tales of Inner Earth, because it's been quite different. This is what I enjoy about the whole process of building these anthologies, is that they're always, it's always something else. It's never quite the same story throughout, and it's never quite the same process as you're building the book. Sorry, I got to put in a different drive here. But yeah, Chthonic is coming out before Christmas. We've got some wonderful cover art by Lucas Court, which I'm very excited about, and we're getting some. But this is going to be the first Martian Migraine Press anthology that has interior illustrations by the German illustrator Fruenwald. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Yeah, I met him at Necronomicon, and we got chatting, and I had of course bought a bunch of his stuff, and his work is so visceral and dirty. It's got that sort of,
oh yeah,
it's got that real sort of crunchy look. So I'm like, could this be the guy? And I looked at more of his material, and I'm like, yeah, it's the guy. We'll work with Fufu. And he was quite excited to get on board too. So he's started to send me material for it, and I'm happy about that.
I'm excited about it too. I got a shirt from him at Necronomicon, and it is the most comfortable shirt I wear. And
right.
I mean, it's like I'm gonna wear it out, and it's normal, and it's not even that old, and I've washed it, and I love the shirt.
Good sign. Excellent.
So
yeah, I love his stuff, so I'm happy to be working with him. Yeah, we've got the seed story for that one is going to be The Rats in the Walls.
Ooh.
The Rats in the Walls by Lovecraft, of course, because it's something we've always gone ahead with. Is I love Lovecraft, always have. It's despite recent kerfuffles, which I've learned recently is a Canadian word.
Really?
So there you go. You're welcome. You're the rest of the world. We gave that to you. Besides quite aside from the kerfuffles regarding Lovecraft, it's like you can't deny, that he's had a major influence, and we like to honor that. But we've also got, aside from The Rats in the Walls, we've got John Linwood Grant from Britain sent us a World War II in the Trenches. Deep Beneath the Trenches story, which I literally teared up at the end of it. It was just so brutal. We've got a reprint of Nadia Bolkin's Pugilbone. I may be pronouncing it incorrectly, but that's a sci-fi future tale. Oh gosh, we've got Sam Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a tale of basically Colombian Shining Path guerrillas that's take it below ground. That's pretty disturbing, and just a lot of newer authors too, because that's why I do the open calls. I do the open calls because although it's nice to work with people and can produce something that's going to fit, I like to get the outlier. It's like, where did that come from? Who is this person? Doesn't matter. That story works.
Yeah, so, there it goes.
Yeah. So it's gonna be 17 stories, and it's gonna be smaller.
Oh.
It's not as many as Breath from the Sky because there's so much claustrophobia with being under the earth that it's like, we better make this a little tighter, because if we have it too much, it's gonna be too oppressive.
PSI, you got that increased PSI income.
Exactly. Yeah. These are heavy crushing stories.
Okay.
Yeah, slightly shorter book as a result.
Another quick question for you. Do you foresee in the future any time that you might step away from basing an anthology on Lovecraft, or do you intend on sticking with Lovecraft for further anthologies in the future?
That's actually the next one. Which will be the major one for 2018. I have decided to do exactly that, and break away from Lovecraft. We're actually going to go a little earlier than Lovecraft. Algernon Blackwood's The Willows will be the root story. As long as have either of you read it?
I think I read it a long time ago.
Yeah,
but I will now.
Yeah, it's the theme for the next one is basically, and I just realized I haven't actually announced it yet anywhere. So this is going to be exclusive. So yeah, it's basically the theme is that of one of my main interests as a writer, of weird fiction and of horror fiction is, it's sometimes used as a trope, but when it's done really interestingly, I love it, and I try to bring it into my own fiction as much as possible. The idea that nothing of what you see and experience is quite as it actually is. I think that's where the rug gets pulled out from under humans and under characters in stories, where they're like, oh, I had assumed that such and such was this and so, but in fact it is not like that at all. So basically the theme is camouflage, and that sort of adaptive, aggressive camouflage that we see in the animal world and we see in the plant world, where predatory, or not always predatory, but prey that can kind of like swap roles and become a predator once the situation goes their way.
Mm-hmm.
But leveled up in such a way that you've got a reality that appears to be exactly the reality that it is, but in fact once one enters deep enough into it, I'm maybe making it sound more confusing than it is. The theme is camouflage. The root story is Algernon Blackwood's The Willows, which is it's an interesting tale, and it's basically you've got these two protagonists, and they're both fairly reliable narrators, because this is an older story from the early 20th century, and they're out on the Danube, basically canoeing and camping, and canoeing some more and camping some more, and they're basically traveling along the Danube, and they get to this very isolated place. Where it's one of those places where the veil is thin, right? It's a thin veiled place, and they sense that they're at the mercy of forces they can't quite comprehend. But what's interesting about it is that the forces are there not so much because it's thin, but because the natural world mirrors what they are. So the willows they're of the willows, but not of the willows. They like being in the willows because, and it's not that they look like the willows, they don't, Uh, but something about, something about how our reality manifests on this island, on this river, with these plants, is attractive to these things, and they have an affinity with it. And so, yeah, interesting story in that regard. And I think you see this in a lot of the ecological, weird fiction that's coming out. Like, for instance, I mean, the best example I can think of is Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation, where things have a seeming appearance, but that's exactly what it is. It is a seeming, right? It appears to be that. It's not.
It's not.
Or it's more. It's more of the same. So I know one of these days I'm going to pick a theme that's just it's gonna be more. I think this might be the one where it's like I'm biting off more than I can chew. I'm asking too much of folks. I ran it by some fellow editors. I'm like, what do you think of this idea? How's this gonna fly? And they're like, it's gonna be hard to dumb down. I'm like, it is. It is.
Sounds like you're gonna have to caffeinate yourself quite a bit.
Oh, I'm already at ridiculous levels, but yeah.
Will this be a print publication for 2018, or is this also
absolutely, yeah. All pretty much everything we've done after Conqueror Womb was before Conqueror Womb, it was all electronic, and then once we actually started doing all right with this, we went into print as well, and now we focus mostly on print. I would say the ebook boom was interesting, wasn't it? I know it's still technically, a functioning thing,
right?
But at least from my experience, it's been more of a not so much anymore. I think people have gone. They've come full circle. I still like my ebooks. I like them for the bus. I like them for traveling. I like it just to pick something up before going to sleep. But yeah, I think people are back on functional, zombie tree ways to get their stories.
Yeah, as I say, I can't do ebook.
Speaking of travel and caffeinating yourself.
Okay. What is this we're looking at?
We're going to break for a moment for a word from our sponsors. Birds of a Feather Coffee Company. I don't know if you're like me, but I definitely prefer their Night Owl blend. This is some wonderful stuff. And you can find it at birdscoffeecompany.com, and for a limited time, they have started brewing up a special blend, the Legends blend. You can get your very own Legends of Tabletop coffee at birdscoffeecompany.com. And also use the code LEGENDS10 at checkout for a 10% discount. Now I'm gonna go into a little bit of definition here for you. Birds of a Feather Coffee Company, they do roast their unique craft coffees in small batches, so it's always fresh, and that includes the Legends Tabletop blend. Their signature blends, like the Legends of Tabletop blend that you can find at birdscoffeecompany.com, showcase the amazing breadth and depth of flavors that coffee has to offer. My favorite, the Night Owl blend, for example, is a rich, deep cup of coffee with notes of smooth caramel, decadent cocoa, and bittersweet molasses with just a touch of acidity to cleanse the palate so you're ready for the next sip. And you can check out all of the Birds Coffee and order today at birdscoffeecompany.com. And you can use the code LEGENDS10 at checkout for a 10% discount. And now back to you, Scott.
Well, before we jump back to Scott, you can't actually find the Legends of Tabletop brew at birdscoffeecompany.com. You have to follow a convoluted pathway. There is a link on our website. Just head up to the menu bar. It's birdscoffeecompany.com/coffees/legends-of-tabletop-legendary-brew. So if you got all that, you can type it in or just hit the website. It's legendsoftabletop.com. Hit that menu bar, link out right to the coffee, It's fantastic. I just put an order in 2 days ago, so I'm waiting to get mine.
See, now, if I'm thankful you're here because I wouldn't have known that.
See, you need to be on the website.
I know. Oh, man. But yes, oh gosh. So I apologize, Scott.
No.
We were continuing your speaking of the newer anthology in 2018.
Right.
Do you have anything further that you might have available for us, such as any new works by Justine G that we might need to be aware of?
Well, yeah, obviously you've been paying attention. There will be coming out from, they're called Festaferleg. Let me just make sure. They're a German publisher of, let's see, where is that? They're a German publisher of, no, Festaferleg. So they're a German publisher of like extreme horror and extreme sort of horror erotica, and you can find them at festa-verlag.de. So they basically came to Justine, who's one of our authors, and I should just basically come right out and say it. She's actually me. It was yeah, Justine was an early what do you call it, fake name, pseudonym, because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to write this Lovecraftian erotic horror, how's that going to sell? If I slap Scott R. Jones, and then people look me up and find that I'm, well, a middle-aged fellow with kids and a job. That's not so great. that doesn't really sell it.
You're
so
not the only one.
I know exactly. I'm not the only one.
No,
but it's nice to at the time it felt like, because this was very early on in the in the evolution of Martian Migraine and what we were putting out, and I've always enjoyed that stuff. I think it's what's interesting about horror fiction and what's interesting about comedy fiction, and is the same thing that's interesting about erotic material, is that all of that stuff gives you a very specific somatic response. Good horror fiction, especially good body horror fiction, is you're going to get the creeps, you're going to have a scare, you're going to get the chills and thrills. That's what you want. You're always going to laugh. Your body is going to laugh and respond to a humorous situation in a book with comedy. Good Omens is a fantastic example of that. And the same thing with erotic fiction. If it's decent, well, it's going to go down. And so my thought was, well, we'll do this, but I didn't exactly want to, at that early stage, necessarily associate, my main author name with the Blackstone books. So yeah, I made up Justine G, and a friend of mine decided to loan her face to me. So that worked out nicely. But then, of course, Festaferleg, Frank Festa from Germany, basically was asking around and said, who should we get next? And somebody advised that Justine G was somebody to look into, and he read the books, and he contacted her email address and said, we'd like to put out a limited 1,000 long print run, I guess. So 1,000 books, hardcover, signed. How would you like to do that, Justine? Fantastic. I write back. I'd love to. And they, the decent pay, the whole deal. And but you should know ahead of time. And then we had kind of funny little exchange where it was like, okay, oh, we don't want to necessarily lie to our customers. And I'm like, well, that's not, it's a pen name. It happens all the time. Stephen King and Richard Bachman and all those names that are linked. And so I'm okay with however you want to do it. You're the publisher. He goes, well, if we do it the way we want to do it, Justine G won't be a secret anymore. I'm like, it's fine. Everybody knows. Or at least most of the folks who you know, who know me in the weird fiction circles were, you know, pretty much early on aware of this, like, well, she writes like Scott, it's Scott. It's a lot more fun than most of the stuff he usually does. But yeah, so it is. And I just got the signature sheets the other day. They came in and they sent me some very nice pens with it as well. It's like something I'm definitely going to be doing in the future if we ever do signature sheets for a Martian Migraine book. Yeah, send your authors pens so you don't get random inks all over the signature sheets. But yeah, there's my name on the signature sheet. So bye, Justine, nice working with you. At least as far as the Germans are concerned. Maybe we'll let it ride a little in North America.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now that we have covered that as well, oh man. Now, I have been very pleased to get my own copy of this.
Nice.
I strongly recommend that all of you weird fiction lovers that also love Word Horde get your own copy. This one is mine. So anyway, get your own copy. But other than that book, where else can we find you?
Like my own personal stuff.
Yeah, your own personal stuff.
Well, I'm the author of When the Stars Are Right, which we probably discussed. And said that's my favorite baby. So that's towards authentic Relayan spirituality, and that's a fairly personal book. It's technically nonfiction, but you know, some fictional elements interweaved into it. I have been published in Lackington's magazine here in Canada. Oh gosh, where else? I had a story in, I guess it technically makes me an international author, but I was in Australia's Andromeda Flightways in-flight magazine, Spaceways in-flight magazine. Yeah, that's it. It's Andromeda Spaceways in-flight magazine. That was their issue 62. I was in that. Where else? Flesh Like Smoke. I've got a werewolf story in that. Well, it's a shapeshifter story. So Flesh Like Smoke is out of they're out of, I believe, Ontario. And yeah, very neat book, fully illustrated, lots of great authors in there. And I've been in a couple of Word Horde books. Ross is a fan, so you know, I send him material, and each time I do, I'm like, at this time he'll say no. not so far, so I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right for Ross. But the latest one is indeed the one you held up there, Tales from a Talking Board, which I'm alternately like excited to have that story out there. It's called Worse Than Demons. Yes. But also it's very personal. It's like you don't often get to go into personal areas with weird fiction, but with this one I did. It's got a lot of stuff from childhood, you know, religious material in it. Yes. Everyone's got a Ouija board story from when they were kids. You know, everyone. You know? And mine's particularly odd. So yeah. And you know, I've also got I can't think of all the places I've been. Oh, I was in the Necronomicon convention. The what do you call it? The souvenir book. I was in the souvenir book. So if you were at Necronomicon, I'm in there too.
I've got to run upstairs and look at it now.
Quite all right.
It's so sad because I packed light when I went because I knew
you have to, because you know
so many books while I'm there. And then of course I'm glad I packed light because I had just enough room to fit all of the books that I got. And I still wanted to get more. You never have enough room. You can never get enough. But yeah, I am gonna veer off with a couple of different questions for you.
Sure.
Some of which you have answered previously. So I'm gonna throw a few new ones in there too.
Nice. I'm ready.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? And it's interesting to see how some people evolve and change with time with their answers to these.
I can't remember my last answer, but that's probably because I've changed since then. What was my last answer? I'm trying to think. I wouldn't have said Yeah, I can't recall. Let me see. What would I have now? What would I have now? Wow, that is tough, isn't it? Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with. I'll basically go with sort of a Luke Cage deal, right?
Oh.
That invulnerability right now. That seems attractive to me at this point in my evolution.
Okay.
You know, mostly because I think you could do interesting things with it.
Yeah.
That was my reason for the last one. I said super speed last time.
Oh gosh.
I said super speed because
What,
it seemed.
did you just watch The Flash or something?
Yeah, I just remembered it. I said super speed because that would give you lots of options and interesting things you could do with it. But so too, could you do interesting things with invulnerability? I think, and it would be less flashy, right? You could pretty much live normally with invulnerability.
Yeah, just not tell anyone.
Exactly. You know, you wouldn't have to. You wouldn't get called out all that much. Of course,
as
once
long
people
as you get hospitalized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's that. So, yeah, I'd go with that. That would lend to some interesting travel experiences, I think.
Marvel or DC?
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with DC on that.
All right.
Just despite their troubles, it's just the gods walking on Earth. You can't go. Well, I mean, you can't go terribly wrong with it, but yeah, and they do go terribly wrong with it. But as a company, I think that's a good way to go for them.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
I think sci-fi.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always going to gravitate towards that more than, unless there's elements that can really ground it. Yeah, I haven't really been into fantasy for a while. Yeah. So I suppose urban fantasy, I guess that's the closest I would get. Okay. Because I'd want it slightly modernized, I suppose.
Now, I don't know. I doubt if you have enough free time to, free time, what is that?
Yeah,
if you have the power to create one perfect movie or TV adaptation of a video game story, which game do you pick?
Of a video game story. Whoa. Let me think here. It's interesting because a lot of my video game consumption has been mediated through the filter of my 6-year-old boy right now. And one thing I find interesting about interacting with the kid on that level is that he's very into the Minecraft. As how could you not be? I was watching the last episode of the 3rd season of Rick and Morty. When Rick's sitting down with Morty and they're playing Minecraft. Yeah. And Rick says, "What is this game? Is this game made for autistic people?" That was something I said when we first sat down to play. Because I'm playing this, I'm going, what is going on here? I'm mining things to get more things to mine other. What is this for? Yeah, my boy doesn't know what autism is, and I just kind of said it out loud without thinking. It was stupid, but then of course they have horrible Rick saying that, so that's the kind of person I clearly am. But then I'm looking at where he's making up stories on the fly. But I haven't in my limited interaction with Minecraft, I haven't really seen a lot of interesting story mode. I hear that it's there. I guess I would want to see at this point in time. I think if you could do a perfect adaptation, it's such an open world, and there's weird stuff going on in it. My kid gets out the guidebooks and he's reading it, and he said to me the other day, "If you can dig below the bedrock, there's an infinite abyss." What's an abyss, Dad? I'm like, oh boy, because I'm an occultist from way back, and I'm like, we do not want to get into abyssal talk at this stage of the game, kid.
Don't look at it too long, boy.
Yeah, so don't look into the. I'll teach you how to wink at it when it winks back at you. But other than that, where this is, you know. And then somebody else said to me, "Oh, that's an easy way to explain the abyss. You just say to the kid, think of everything. Now take it away." That's the abyss. I'm like, okay, perfect. But it's got this weird stuff in there because there's supposed to be. So there's the. Am I going too long on this? There's basically the overworld of Minecraft. I think probably everybody who's gotten near the game knows this. There's an overworld, and then there's this other dimension called the Nether that you can get to, and it's basically a hell dimension. Then there's another dimension called the End. But so Sean that's my boy. He's thinking about it to the degree where he's like, well, if I can dig below the bedrock, I'll get to the Nether that way. And I'm like, no, the guidebook says that underneath the bedrock there's nothing. It's an abyss. So we're starting to talk about like, oh well, maybe the Nether's a dimension. It could be under there, but it's not. It's under there, but it's also over to the side. Right? So dimensionally speaking, it's like 16 degrees off the central finite curve, and you're not going to get anywhere near it no matter how deep you dig. You got to have the portal and all the rest. Of my boy's like, he strokes his non-existent beard for me. I'm like, yeah. So I mean, obviously, in terms of openness for storytelling, I think Minecraft could be interesting. What the hell are they doing in there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How did this come to pass? That's my answer.
that is a fantastic answer.
Thank you.
Now, so I picked up an issue of a women's fashion magazine and saw on the back that they had taken the question about the superpowers.
Yeah, they've done that recently.
Turnabout is fair play.
All right.
So I've modified a few questions from them as well.
Oh, fantastic. Let's have it.
What is the most gracious response to the rejections and setbacks that you have faced throughout your life?
A gracious response from me?
Sure.
Gracious response. Well, in terms of, again, I'd have to map that onto the whole writing career, right?
Mm-hmm.
A gracious response to a rejection, that's pretty much all the rejection I've ever received in the last 10 years or so has been rejections for stories, so I have to go there. And that would be the most gracious response is no response or thank you.
Yeah.
That's early on, I think I made the mistakes that a lot of writers make early on, which is contacting the editor after receiving the standard rejection and saying what was wrong with it, how can I fix it. Everybody's done it. I totally have sympathy for folks who now send me that question, and most of the time, again, because of time constraints, I won't respond, and they'll learn eventually. But if I'm feeling particularly gracious now and I get that question from somebody, I'll say, all right, here's the basics, but you should know A, B, and C, right? And that's not always the quality of the writing. It could be that we were talking about this earlier, where it's like not proper fit. There's many factors, and a lot of those factors are a little bit nebulous, right? I can't speak to it, which is why why the standard rejection you get from most editors and most projects is, thank you for sending it in. It's not right for us at this time. Bye. So it's like, yeah, that's my gracious response. Nothing.
What is the most agonizing career-based decision you've ever had to make?
Most agonizing career-based decision. Oi. Well, I think, in terms of, we'll go beyond writing here, but basically, any sort of drastic career shifts. I'm on my, how many careers do they say the average North American male
6.
has? 6. Okay, well, I'm on 3. I'm on the 3rd. So I was a graphic designer for quite a few years out of school, and obviously I still dabble in it. It's still something I enjoy doing. The shift from that to, I was a massage therapist for a decade. So that was a rather drastic shift from, you know,
graphic design to that.
graphic, yeah, exactly, you know, geeky, sitting in a cubicle, you know, making logos fly around. That's quite different from massage. So, but you know, I was a registered therapist there, so that was a big shift. Definitely got healthier as a result.
Yeah.
But the most agonizing one, I'd say, was quitting that.
Really?
Realizing, well, yeah, because you know, you can only take so. You wouldn't think it likely, but you could only stand so many naked bodies in a lifetime, and I've had my lifetime's worth. It's just you get to a point where you're just like, I can't do it anymore. There is a huge like emotional toll, right? There's a physical toll because it's physical work, but there's also like, I'm done. So I was done, and it was like, it was hard to basically say, you know, basically I think I overstayed my welcome for myself, where it was like, I can't do it anymore. And yeah, now I'm a mailman. So that was the most agonizing thing, was shifting from like this, you know, it was a very feminized, healing environment, you know, and that was absolutely fine. I was, you know, adapted well to that. But then to come out of that and basically go to a quasi-military, you know, tough boys and tougher girls kind of, you know, working environment was quite. Yeah, that was a steep learning curve. But you know, I adapt, adopt, and improve. You know, it's all part of the Relayan spirituality thing. You know, if you can't shoggoth it up and become what is needed in the moment, then yeah. So yeah, that was the most agonizing.
Speaking of shoggothing it up and doing what is needed in the moment, how did you make your first dollar?
How did I make my first dollar?
Yeah.
Oh, is this one? This is again one of the women's magazine's questions. How did I make?
This is one of the. This is a woman's.
Like my absolute first dollar.
Oh yes.
I was a paper boy.
Yeah. So you come kind of.
I've come full circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I note that every time I pass a paper boy, I'm like, well, there we go.
Do they have paper boys anymore? I did the same thing, but now everybody.
Well, you know, they don't really have, up here in Canada, in Victoria, they don't really have paper boys so much anymore. It's just like folks who just deliver the paper on the side. I haven't really seen many kids do it. I think kids are smarter these days. Yeah, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, not in like 10 years.
Yeah, it's just not worth it unless you can do like multiple routes and really, you know, really make some, you know, some reasonable money from delivering papers. But I think most kids are like, not so much.
What is one thing that you're exceptionally good at?
Oh my gosh, I'm Canadian. You can't ask me that question.
Oh, I just did.
What am I exceptionally good at?
Oh yeah.
See, if I say writing, I sound not humble, and I don't feel my writing's at a point where I can say that. So I won't say that. But I did just bring it up. I hope to be that. I hope to have that be the thing that I'm exceptionally good at. Right now, I'd have to say I'm doing a kick-ass job of being a dad.
Hey.
I've had 2 sick kids in the house for the last 2 days. It's nice to talk to adults. Hello.
Oh my goodness.
They're just at that point where they're like just sick enough to be irritating, but not sick enough to, you know, be, you know, there's, you get to learn these little human spawn quite well. And it's like, I wish you were a little bit sicker, because then you'd be calmer. You'd be whining less, right?
Oh my goodness.
When they're really sick, it's just a joy. You're like, oh, you're fine.
we're gonna flip this.
Okay.
What are you really bad at? Just one thing. What are you terrible at? What are you the worst at?
I am I'm really bad at home repair.
Okay.
I'm really bad at home repair. I could probably start listing if I really thought about it.
No,
that'll do.
No, that will do. That will do. Because
I've had some recent successes, which have made me go, oh gosh, maybe I'm not as bad as I think. But you know, like anything else, you know, I'm sure I'll have to make a reappraisal of that.
Now, how do you like to hit the reset button after a terrible day?
After a terrible day.
Or even an experience. It can just be like something terrible happens and you're like, reset. How do you hit the reset button?
I like to basically hit the showers. You know, hit the showers and then, run out, grab some takeout, grab some craft beer, bring it on home, have dinner with the wife, watch a movie. Pretty standard. Pretty standard.
Cool. What song would you like played at your funeral?
Wow. It's that old spiritual. What is it? I'm trying to recall the name.
Notice I've been fondling my non-existent beard as well.
Yeah. Okay. It's that it was in Oh Brother Where Art Thou? I am a poor wayfaring stranger.
Yeah.
I love that song. If it could be done with a steel guitar, all the better. That's a sweet one. I sing that one all right too. So, but of course I won't be able to do it. So,
cool.
Yeah.
What job? Now that we've gone through all these questions about career and how you've gone full circle with your experience, what job, if you were offered it, would make you immediately drop everything you're doing to say yes to?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, everything I'm doing. That would have to be. If any one of the big 6 publishers came and said, "We like your editorial style, please come on board," I would do it. Yeah. It wouldn't even have to be big 6. It could be just an imprint, but just to get your foot in the door and not be a small press anymore. I love the small press. Don't get me wrong, but the chance to actually flex those particular muscles in a more professional capacity would be that would be a no-brainer for me.
Now I'm going to go ahead and time this.
Okay.
So that John can stick around for the very last question I have for you. What is oh wait, no, it's not the last question, but it's the second to last. What's the first music album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh wow, that's easy. I was a weird kid that didn't actually go the usual route. My parents were extremely worried because I was into world beat and jazz, and it was the New York-based sort of new age jazz group Shadowfax. Yes, yes, you remember them? Yeah, Shadowfax. And it was folk songs for a nuclear village.
Cool.
Sir, go ahead.
What album can you listen to all the way through without skipping a single track?
That would be Nico Case's Furnace Room Lullaby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go meta.
Anything by Nico Case, really.
We're going to go meta here.
Oh, good. My favorite.
And this really is the closing question that I have for you today.
All right, Leah.
What question do you wish that I would have asked you?
What question? How's the novel going?
How is the novel going?
I had to chat with Molly Tanzer. She's like, you have to choose. Are you going to be a short story writer or a novel writer? And I'm like, oh, short stories for sure, because that seems to be where that's my wheelhouse and seems to be where I have the most success. She says, oh, good, because there's nothing worse than a novelist who tries to break into publishing with short stories. I'm like, I understand that. And then 3 days after talking with her, what do you know? Up bubbles the idea. I'm like, wait, that could completely work. Oh God, I've got a novel. Damn it. So I'm always kind of embarrassed talking to Molly now, because it's like, sorry. I'm still working on the short stories. Obviously, I've got all the projects, but yeah, the new novel is called Stonefish, and it goes back to that whole camouflage reality thing I was talking about earlier. And yeah, I'm excited about it. It's still early days. It's not going to be ready for a long while, but
Okay.
I'm getting up every morning at 4 in the morning to, crank out 2 hours on the thing. And yeah, we'll have a first draft by February, I figure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So yes, and again, thank you so much, Scott, for taking
Thank you.
the time to talk with me tonight.
Always a pleasure, Leah.
Hey, thanks, man. I mean, and I look forward to Chthonic, and yeah, and I look forward to the Algernon Blackwood project.
We don't actually have a title for it yet.
It's okay, you will.
Figure it out. And we announced it here. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Hey, Scott, where's the best place to buy your books? Is it from your website? Is it better to purchase like on Amazon or other locations to kind of get the word out?
Either way is good. I like it when folks order from Martian Migraine press.com, because then I kind of get to know them a little bit. But at the same time, all hail the mighty Amazon algorithm, right? That does make a difference, and oftentimes it is cheaper for the consumer, and then it gets to them faster. So yeah, I would say go to Amazon and bump up the numbers a little bit and slap your reviews down there. That never hurts.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reviews are key for that algorithm too.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. It's like they have the, what do you call them? That I guess there's trigger numbers. There's there's the 10 reviews. There's the 50. There's 100. No Martian Migraine. I guess because we're so niche, we rarely have anything that's topped above 15 reviews. But yeah, given time.
Right, and that is almost if not more important than actually buying the books. Like you can buy the books and it's great and you support, but the reviews are so key and getting the thing bumped up and kind of getting the word out there. So
That's
if
true.
you love the books being put out by Martian Migraine, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the people you work with, and try to convince them to go ahead and write a review. And you write a review, because we say that too. And I'm reticent in the same regard to go and post reviews myself. So
yeah, it's difficult, I think, because I think folks, when it comes to writing reviews, they sort of feel that there's a lot hanging on it, and because we're all sort of aware of what the algorithm does. So I think there's a certain pressure they feel that maybe makes them feeling like they don't want to write a review. But it doesn't, it's honestly doesn't take much. It doesn't have to be exhaustive. It doesn't have to be necessarily a positive review either. Did you not like it for a number of reasons? Mention that. It's all part of gearing, basically attracting the right reader to the book. I know lots of folks are like, wow, that negative review really makes me want to buy it. Because it's by what's missing. You can say, so they don't like that, but I do like those things.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, never hurts.
All right, well, let me throw this one at you, and then I'm gonna have to get out of here. Where do you see weird fiction not weird fiction, but weird fiction too? Where do you see small press going in the future?
I think it's probably going to get more niche, but the quality has been, very rapidly increasing. We're getting more quality writers, a lot better production quality with a lot of the venues for actually getting the physical product out there are just getting better and better and better. But I'd like the first part of your question though, is like, where is weird fiction going? And I think it's only just started, because I think, I mentioned this at Necronomicon on a couple of panels where it's like, weird fiction has something vital to say about where we're at as a, not as nation states or, economic blocks or anything like that right now, but as a species. As a species, I think it speaks to something really core to what we are learning about ourselves and what we're learning about our place within whatever this is, the structure of reality and so on. And I think, if it's more and more writers are approaching it that way, it's become less about, it's becoming less about, the horrors of existence and what we don't know, and Lovecraft's whole, fear of the unknown. It's one of my favorite quotes is from is from Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu, where he's like, oh, well, we're on the edge of black seas of infinity, and it's not meant that we should travel far. Which is fine if you're Lovecraft, but I think for the rest of us, it's like, what are our options? There really is no retreat to the peace and safety of a new dark age, Howie. That's
like
nice
the coordinates that you have pasted across your chest.
Yeah,
it's a good
exactly.
starting point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, for us to survive, I think we need to start, exercising these options and looking to these places that previously we've been like, oh, we can't look there. It's like, it's time to look.
Yeah.
That may be the way out. A forward escape into weirdness, I think, is a good plan.
Right. The nature of the fiction changes as we change, as society changes, and highlights those different fears that are, current in the zeitgeist. And it's interesting to kind of see how that is, and, see how people react to that. And like I say, it's, kind of a niche thing, but, the community is as strong as it is, things like Necronomicon, you've got 2,000 people who are super into the thing that you're into, it's affirming in that regard. It's like, oh, I'm not just reading this weird thing. It's not just me. There's like this whole group, other group that's involved and interested and expressive. It makes me feel about this big when I go, because I'm like, wow, these people are all so smart, and I'm just here kind of like hanging out, soaking it in. I'm like way overmatched here.
Absolutely. But
I think we all feel like that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It is Necronomicon is, if you haven't been, viewers, it's worth a shot, because it is overwhelming in the best way. Easily one of the best convention experiences I've ever had. So, yep.
It's my go-to in the years that it's on. That's the one I make sure that I go to.
Cool. Well, we'll see you in 2019.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I've got to bounce. You guys can stay and hang out, but I've got to go pick up my kid. So it was a pleasure to co-host for a change and to get a chance to talk for a little bit longer.
All right.